Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Now, to those who just tune in to our show, our title is Viagra. What is Viagra? Vigilance in Advocating Green Restoration Activities. Now, our guest is an expert pertaining to green restoration, and he has an NGO, an international organization, is really taking care of the environment, specifically green restoration. So I'll ask you, Rino, what is Better Globe? How many countries does Better Globe have affiliations with?
Well, we started in Norway to start a company from there. So because I'm a Norwegian, so that was naturally. But then again, I've been working in Africa for more than 25 years and built schools there since 1991. So we started to get the idea of eradicating poverty in Africa, because that's the biggest and the poorest continent. So we thought we could do the best impact there. And we are working only in East Africa, due to the fact that that's the most stable area in Africa. It's quite democratic. I'm talking about Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and the areas in the East African countries. And also we had to look into, since my advocacy in environment is tree planting, that means we have to find a place where there is land enough to plant trees. For example, in the Philippines here, you don't have 10 million hectares, which I need to plant my advocacy for the rest of my life. So we have looked into which countries are likely to give us that kind of land deals. And we have a very good relationship with the government in Kenya and Uganda. And we're going to get the same in Tanzania when we get there in a couple of years. And we have so far more than 100,000 hectares of land in Kenya, which we are now planting. And as soon as we finish that, we will get more, up to 10 million in 5 countries in East Africa. And the way we are doing it is that we have to, you see, I'm not a big believer in charity as such, because I've seen too much of it squandered away, and it's lost in the process. So I believe it must be based on business principles. So we had to find a way to make business first for the people and for us in order to sustain our living, and that the environment should be a sustainable environment. That's why we plant trees. That's long term, and it's also profitable in long term.
You're always mentioning eradicating poverty. Is it really possible to eradicate poverty, specifically that the main problem, there are so many variables pertaining to poverty: corruption, the social dimension, the cultural dimension.
Yes.
So how could we eradicate poverty?
No, let me make it clear. Nobody can ever eradicate poverty, but they can fight poverty. So, and that is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And you're correctly mentioning that there are so many other things. And the way I see it, there are 2 main things. Eradicating poverty needs education, it needs sustainable business, it needs to take care of the environment. But on the other side, in political areas, you have corruption. You have that in the Philippines, you have it in Africa, all over. And the main thing here is that corruption and poverty, they are like 2 brothers. They go together. When you find one, the other one is. If you eradicate corruption, poverty will be automatically eradicated. That's the way I see it. So in fact, I have written a book, here called Put Integrity First. It's about Africa, but it goes for the same in the Philippines. The principles are the same. And so we are fighting corruption by educating people. But I forget about the people who live today in power. The ones who are corrupt will remain corrupt. There's nothing I can do. That's why we're starting school building in Africa, and we teach the kids from nursery level and up about honesty and integrity. We hope that 50 years from now, when these kids grow up and take over their countries, they will know what the difference is. And I know that by fighting corruption, they will automatically help poverty.
But Rino, pertaining to education, education is something ideal, but when you go to the actual world, it becomes real. So the demarcation line between idealism and realism has a problem. For example, when an African educated person becomes a professional, it goes to the industry, it goes to the politics.
Yes.
The reality is that you need to survive. You need to do corruption for you to survive poverty.
Yeah, that's correct.
So what is the use right now of educating them when in fact when they grow older, they would be eaten by the system?
Yeah, no, you're very much right on that. However, I believe that nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. And for me, I know for sure that out of, let's say I educate 100 children, if 10%, that's
okay, I agree.
that's
yeah.
optimistic.
Yeah.
But if those 10% become presidents in the countries in the years to come, they will in due time change. And we believe that by enforcing honesty and integrity in the children, then at least some of them will remain with that integrity through school and also to the business years. And I've seen it in Africa also, although I would say maybe 95% of the people living in Africa today are corrupt because of the system. They grow up and they become corrupt automatically. You're right on that. However, I think that by the way we do it, maybe we can get the percentage down to 80%, 70 or 60%,
okay.
and even 50. You never know. And that is enough for me to have a nice living for the rest of my life.
Now, you would now compare the African setup and the Philippine setup. Your advocacy is now in the Philippines.
Yes.
And looking at the setting in the Philippines,
Yes.
the Philippines per se is that Filipinos are educated, most of us speak English, but the problem is that when you go to the real concept is that there are problems and hindrances to education, specifically mass media.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes instead of the mass media genuinely educating the Filipinos, they are idiotizing the Filipinos.
Yes, that is true.
So what's the use again of educating them? Well, in fact, the main antagonist pertaining to your advocacy sometimes is the government per se.
Yes,
and the media per se.
That is true. Well, you know, it's a difference. You talked about Better Globe being in different places. We are in the Philippines, but we have a marketing company here. And that's not a tree planting company as such. However, by the marketing, we will also plant trees here, but we will never go into education here or microfinance, which is the things we're doing in Africa. There's a different market here, and we are not capable of doing that. We have enough area in Africa, and you can never provide us with the land enough to plant trees here. So what we will do here is that we will just go into the carbon credit, which we'll talk about later today, and we'll talk about that, and that is what we're doing in the Philippines, and by that we will plant trees here. So that will help something in the Philippines, but we are not having the same advocacy here as in Africa.
But the problem is here is that I do believe in your advocacy planting trees, but the main enemy that we would be having are the oligarchs, because they own the land.
Yes, I know.
And they like to develop on a horizontal basis.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. No, that's why that I cannot take on in the Philippines. That is not my advocacy here. What I will do here, I will transform my book from Africa into Philippines, and I will give it out free. I'm not selling that book. I'm giving it out free. Anybody can log into betterglobegroup.com and download that book free of charge. So it's just, we are giving it to schools, universities, in order to help. So that, at least I could do something on a long-term basis.
Okay, you mentioned the book is entitled Integrity First.
Yes.
So how could we instill a Filipino integrity and put back the integrity within the Filipino?
Well, I think that when I get the book on the ground as a Filipino book, probably also into Tagalog language, that could be possible, then, and I will give it free of charge to the people who want to read it, and then the politicians or whoever is in charge will have to take that book into the school system and to the business system, so at least it will rub off on some of them.
But the politicians won't read it, because that's pertaining to integrity.
Yeah, I know. No, that's true. But like I said, you know, we can never make everything happen in once, but at least we can do something. And somebody have to start the ball rolling, and if I can be the one to kick off the ball, I'll be happy with that. But other people will have to take it further on. I will not be able to do that.
You would like be a Don Quixote, fighting a windmill.
Yeah, well, I've been fighting a lot of windmills in my life, and I don't mind, because whatever doesn't kill you will make you stronger. So I'm off to be a very strong person anyway, so I don't mind. That's okay with me.
So, in the Philippines right now, projects you plan in the Philippines.
Yes.
So what are the projects that you have?
Well, actually, what we are planning, that is why, as you have seen, we had Mystica here, and she is my managing director in the Philippines. I chose Mystica because she was a celebrity, and that is part of the marketing. We wanted to, instead of spend 10 years telling who are Better Globe, we got a celebrity to promote us. And we are going to do a carbon credit here for the companies. That's the biggest issue, I think, the input we can get. Because there are many companies in the Philippines who wants to become green companies for the reasons of helping the environment, for the reason of marketing, because the customer would like them to be green companies. But we have invented a fantastic way of doing that, like nobody ever. None in the whole world have the same thing, because when somebody buy trees for, use that as their footprint for the business and get carbon neutral, they only buy whatever it is and get the carbon credit. With us, you buy the trees, you get the carbon credit for it, but you also get profit over 20 years on the trees. So that means you make a business on being a green company.
Now, you mentioned about the green company. Now, the green company itself has a problem pertaining to sustainable development and specifically balancing profit in it. Now, we hang on that question. Ladies and gentlemen, greening the environment is really an advocacy of every citizens of the world, Filipinos, Norwegian, Africans. But the point is that there are antagonists and even barriers pertaining to certain advocacy. So with that, maybe we need to look at certain principle that Rino would be discussing in the third part of our segment.